Ukraine's drone swarm destroys Russian ammunition train. At 13:47 local time, the skies over Zaporizhzhia turned into a silent battlefield. No fighter jets, no tanks, just hundreds of whirring brushless motors slicing through the wind. A Ukrainian FPV drone swarm, fast, agile, and armed with thermite charges, was closing in on a moving Russian supply train loaded to the brim with ammunition. Within minutes, it would either explode or escape. What followed wasn't just an attack, it was a real-time collision of engineering, physics, and survival. And for both sides, every decision in those next few seconds would determine who controlled the southern front. This train wasn't ordinary. It was carrying thousands of artillery shells, fuel tanks, and critical parts for Russian air defenses, all heading toward the Zaporizhzhia line. For Ukrainian intelligence, this was a golden opportunity: destroy the train and cripple a week's worth of Russian firepower. But the challenge was monumental. The rail line was deep inside contested territory, heavily guarded, constantly monitored, and shielded by electronic warfare systems capable of blinding ordinary drones in seconds. So, Ukraine turned to a new kind of weapon: a smart FPV swarm, built from modular racing drones, equipped with fiber-optic communication lines, and coded with adaptive flight AI. Each drone had one goal: reach the target, no matter the interference. From a camouflage shelter just 11 kilometers away, Ukrainian operators launched the first wave. The air filled with a mechanical hum, a sound that by now Russian troops knew meant trouble. FPV drones accelerated to over 150 kilometers per hour, flying low over trees, weaving through radar shadows. Within seconds, Russian sensors picked them up. An R-330G Zhitel electronic warfare truck activated, flooding the air with 10 kilowatts of radio noise across the spectrum, from 100 megahertz up to 2 gigahertz. It was enough to shut down most consumer drones instantly. But this wasn't an ordinary swarm. Instead of radio, most drones were tethered via fiber-optic microreels, streaming live video directly to the operator, completely immune to radio jamming. The Russians had no idea what was coming. As the swarm closed in, Russian gunners responded with everything they had. A Pantsir S-1 air defense system locked on, launching bursts of 30mm shells skyward. Tracer rounds tore through the air, exploding mid-flight. But the drones were too small, too fast. They darted between explosions, some even deliberately diving low into the tree line to mask their signatures. At command, one drone climbed, targeting the EW truck itself. It dove straight into the Zhitel's antenna array, the explosion instantly silencing the jammer. For a brief moment, the battlefield went quiet, and that's when everything changed. With the jammer offline, the second wave locked onto the rail line. Operators switched to thermal cameras, tracking the train as it thundered forward at full speed. A few kilometers ahead, Russian engineers were desperately trying to redirect it to a siding, but it was too late. The first thermite drone hit the track, burning through steel like butter. Seconds later, another drone impacted a flat car carrying shells. A blinding flash erupted. A chain reaction of secondary explosions lit up the night. Shockwaves rippled through the landscape. Cameras caught sparks dancing along the rails, turning the entire line into a molten ribbon. For a brief moment, the front line saw daylight from 30 kilometers away. As smoke pillars rose, Ukrainian teams relocated fast, dodging counter-battery fire landing meters away. Their laptop screens showed disconnections, static, and then confirmation: target destroyed. Russian logistics across Zaporizhzhia stalled for hours. Satellite images the next morning revealed twisted rail cars and blackened craters stretching for hundreds of meters. The strike had not only destroyed the train, it had cut off a major supply artery, forcing Russia to reroute critical ammunition through longer, vulnerable paths. And perhaps more importantly, it showcased a brutal truth. The future of warfare no longer depends solely on missiles or tanks. It's about who controls the frequency, the data, and the seconds between detection and destruction. In this single operation, Ukraine demonstrated what adaptive drone warfare really looks like: fast, intelligent, and unrelenting. And as both sides race to upgrade their defenses, one thing is clear: the battlefield is no longer just land and air. It's code, connection, and courage. If you found this breakdown powerful, subscribe for more deep dive analyses of modern warfare, where technology, strategy, and human determination collide.